First, before I begin, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Sweet. Thank you. All right. Welcome to Demo Night, everyone. First, I'd like to thank the audience members for taking time out of your day to be here with us. Secondly, I want to give a huge thank you and congratulations to the teams presenting this year. This year was very unique in that it was a longer year than expected and many challenges were put forth for us. But thank you for sticking by us throughout the whole year and consistently coming to meetings. Before we begin, I'd like to address the lineup for today. Symposium Finance, My Pantry, Empire, Bookfly, and Clarify. Each will be presenting their own products and services along with their business model. And before we begin, I want to briefly say that the chat is going to be open for those who want to give feedback on each group's presentations and ask questions as it pertains to the business model or product or service they're presenting. So please feel free to ask any questions in the live chat that I will then reiterate during the Q&A session after each group. And lastly, keep in mind that there is a slight delay between when I speak and when it is spoken in the chat. Further ado, let's begin Demo Night.
In ancient Greece, there were festive events referred to as symposiums, where both mentors and students would gather in the hopes of improving both themselves and others. Thus, we are called Symposium Finance, and we'd like to provide you with the chance to take advantage of an investment opportunity, whether in your own future or someone else's. Personally, I was overwhelmed by the amount of debt I'd have to take out for college, and to be frank, scared, like many other members of my team.
Our team consists of a small group of like-minded friends. Colin is our Chief Executive Officer, Chris is our Chief Information Officer, Samanu is our Chief Financial Officer, and I am the Chief Operations Officer.
Having given a brief overview of our team, at Symposium, our mission entails creating a platform where doing the right thing for students is the most profitable and beneficial course of action, securing a world where students can have a safe future. Now, student debt, as many of us know, is one of the largest issues facing the country at the present moment. According to the Office of Federal Student Aid, outstanding student debt is currently around $1.5 trillion. Of this $1.5 trillion owed, 45 million borrowers have an average debt over $30,000. Predatory lending, the exploitation of students, thus undermining further education's value, and the current pandemic have all put both students and graduates in a very difficult position, wherein they're taking an enormous amount of risk upon themselves.
Now, one of the proposed solutions to the student debt crisis is income share agreements. In case you're unaware, an income share agreement is an alternative to loans where students make a contract to pay a percentage of their income in exchange for upfront education funding. Now, although income share is getting a lot of attention as a potential solution, it's not free from deceptive predatory practices. With current ISA providers, there are a number of consumer protection complaints for their inconsistent terms. Many ISA contracts, in fact, would have students pay more than the amount they would with student loans. Furthermore, it dehumanizes students as a high-risk investment asset.
So that's where we come in. For our solution, what we want to do is build an industry-backed education system. Stakeholders in any industry will be able to sponsor students. Students will then repay based on their ability to pay and will never pay more than tuition. What we want to do is change income share from a one-to-one relationship into a one-to-many relationship, building a platform that combines both crowdfunding and networking. In turn, this will reduce the risk involved in income share, and it will promote decentralized and sustainable finance. So we are a crowdfunding platform where students repay their sponsors based on their ability to pay. Students will never pay more than the cost of tuition or the funding provided. Repayments will be distributed on a first in, first out basis, while also prioritizing the largest sponsors first. The minimum sponsorship will be $1. The maximum sponsorship will be the total cost of education. The payment plan is 10% of the student's income for 10 years. The minimum salary for payments is $34,800 per year. Termination of the contract will cause the contracts to be considered loans, occurring interest the moment the agreement is terminated.
When it comes to ISA, there are two main types of competitors, ISA providers and ISA platforms. A provider takes the full investment risk of funding the student, while a platform mostly serves the enforcement of the income share. In the traditional model for ISA platforms and providers, students are treated as a higher risk investment asset, which is tied to a single institution. In contrast, our model follows a crowdfunding platform, which is more decentralized and forgiving. At Symposium, compared to others, we check all the boxes offering low student risk, low investment risk, career benefits, and industry benefits, benefiting every individual. From competitors is the relationship between students and sponsors and the decentralized risk. Our target market is that we'll embrace both traditional and alternate forms of education, mostly in the Columbus area.
All right, so for students, we'll charge $100 for a funding request and late fees for repayments if they occur. And for sponsors, we'll charge a 4% commission for every sponsorship. And so therefore, instead of raising funds for a student and taking a cut after fact, which is the traditional crowdfunding model, we want to be upfront to sponsors on what actually goes to students and in terms of commissions.
Now, first off, in terms of our target market, we want to gauge interest among students and get a small group of them to commit to the use of our services. Further, we'd like to get in touch with a number of corporations or just enterprising individuals looking to invest in the future of their industry, receiving tangible benefits in both the repayment value and the opportunity to connect with fine young students who want to follow in their footsteps. Third, having affirmed the existence of our market, we will partner with a legal firm who will aid us with the in-platform contracts. And following that, we will launch our platform with both a website and app, whether for iOS or Android.
So in terms of a timeline for our company, the first stage, we'll be doing everything that we can to get our first contract signed, which revolves in acquiring a small group of students and sponsors that are interested in our services. And afterwards, we will incorporate and grow as necessary. First off, given the legal consultation needed in order to arrange the contracts between sponsors and students, we would apply to the Entrepreneurial Business Law Clinic, which is free if students are admitted. Otherwise, our basic contract design and notarization costs would be around $300. Additionally, filing would cost roughly $900. On the back end, we'd likely use Amazon's cloud storage servers, which run for about $30 a month. This would put our initial operation costs at roughly $2,000.
Given these initial operation costs of $2,000 and our target market, we've calculated the following figures. Aiming to reach around 10% of our target market within the first year, we'd have roughly 181 students using our service. Given the average debt taken on by a student and the possibility that students initially decide to take out some loans, we project that they would each request around $9,000 in their first year, although they could request more. On the registration end, that would total about $18,000 in revenue. And in terms of commission, we'd aim for roughly $65,150 in our first year. Moving forward, our business projections start to take on the classic hockey stick characteristics of a successful startup as revenues rise, as we hire more workers and expand beyond our initial base. All right, so thank you very much for taking the time to listen to our presentation. We sincerely believe that this is a worthwhile opportunity, and we hope that you choose to invest. Feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn, which is on this page. And again, thank you and have a good day. The classic hockey stick characteristics of a successful startup.
Collins asks, well, first he says, great job. His question is, if the student doesn't pay more than tuition, how does the investor make money?
Well, it's not really an investment anymore. It's more of
anyone welcome to answer that from Symposium Finance? Go ahead.
Yeah, so our take on it is that we're not trying to make students into an investment asset. We're going for more of a crowdfunding route. Financials, it's a net neutral for a person to sponsor the student. The student will pay back if they can, and so in general, we're trying to not have it be a high risk investment. So low fee, low amount crowdfunding situation.
All right. Thank you for that answer. Let me see if there's any other questions in the chat. And feel free to please put a question now if you have one. It looks like that's the only question that you will have to answer. Thank you for this year. Great presentation, and we'll now move on to the next presentation.
Thank you for listening, everyone.
Presentation, and we'll now move on to the next presentation.
Yep, it's going.
Firstly on our agenda for tonight will be a short introduction, followed by a brief overview on how we can monetize My Pantry, and finally ending with a plan for our future. In speaking order, on the My Pantry team is myself, Jay Walke, the team lead, then followed by our two technical leads, Saisworthy Pallavi and Shivani Jayasal, and finally our business lead, John Diana. I hope you enjoy your presentation, and without any other delays, let's jump in.
What can I make for dinner? This is a question that almost everyone has had at some point in their lives. I, for one, have eggs, rice, potatoes, and onions in my pantry, and I have no clue what I could cook with any of these ingredients. Thankfully, our team at My Pantry have found a recipe for that problem with our app. Now, you may be wondering what sets My Pantry apart from other dieting apps. The difference is that My Pantry is centered on bringing you recipes that you can cook with what you have on hand. During our initial market research phase, we found a website which allowed you to narrow down dishes based on ingredients, but it was extremely broad and gave recipes that were oftentimes out of scope of a beginner cook.
We all have to start somewhere when it comes to cooking, and during our consumer research phase, we discovered that over 90% of student respondents are beginner or intermediate cooks. This clearly shows that an app that is tailor-made to the cook is in high demand at Ohio State. Specifically, of the 66,000 students at Ohio State, nearly 45,000 students live off campus and will most likely be cooking. Additionally, of the 20,000 students who live in the dorms, many enjoy cooking. In terms of immediate reach, My Pantry would have access to nearly 50,000 students who are interested in cooking or can already cook to an intermediate degree.
Now that you understand the central premise behind My Pantry, it's time to check out a quick demo of our app. Now, we're going to begin by just swiping right to begin. And I'm going to enter in my credentials, my login, my password. Go ahead and log in here. And I can select beginner, intermediate, or advanced, and that'll give me different recipes based off my level. So right now it's breakfast, so go ahead, and the app went ahead and selected me yogurts with fruits. So let's check this out. These are nutritional facts. These are some of the ingredients that it takes to make this specific recipe. Switching tracks from the demo, we're going to go look at monetization now. A typical dieting advertisement can net at least $2 per 1,000 viewers for each banner ad on the app, which could mean that My Pantry could fed only one banner ad on per page. Our current layout allows for one banner ad per page. If we do not want to hamper the user experience by over-advertising our customers, we would be able to realistically deliver 4 ads per recipe search. If we estimated each user to use the app at least twice per day, we'd net around $800 per day off passive income, which does not require much development. Extrapolated over a year, that would be nearly $300,000 for about 50,000 students. Additionally, My Pantry will have featured in order to show whether the ingredients can be purchased during the researching process. This would lead to a drastic increase in profits, as most dieting apps gain about $25 per user and may be even more, as My Pantry has a more direct relationship with ingredients and grocery and retail stores. If My Pantry was only available to access the Ohio State student market of about 50,000 students, it would be able to net around $1.5 million as a safe estimate annually.
This brings us then to our next steps. The My Pantry team has developed a prototype application demo which will be used to translate towards code for Android and Apple devices, with direct expansion into a desktop version of the application soon thereafter. After these goals are reached, the My Pantry team will then continue onwards to make constant changes and updates to the app to keep it relevant, and will continually expand the recipe database to make a more culturally inclusive and diverse list of recipes for the world to enjoy. We'd also begin to work on expanding the languages supported within the app and the units of measurement for the ingredients required. In terms of operating cost, relatively cost-free as we're pursuing it as a passion project, but eventually a minimal operating cost of $280,000 would be required in the future. This will account for servers for the app data, trademarking, and future development and employment of other employees in the future.
And finally, My Pantry hopes that you will join us on this journey to expand the world of cooking to as many people as possible, and in the long term, hopefully create a world in which food waste is minimized and hunger is not an issue. Thank you for listening to us talk tonight, and we hope you have a great rest of your demo night. Thank you.
Thank you, My Pantry, for that presentation. We'll be taking questions from the crowd, so please send them in. That's a good sign that you guys have clearly stated everything that could be a point of concern. Thank you, My Pantry, for your presentation. We'll next now move on to the next presentation in the live stream. We just have a question now from Dustin. Says, could you briefly go over again how your app is different from other dieting apps? Is there anyone from here that can answer that?
Right, so I can take that question. So Dustin, our app basically takes what you have in your pantry and fridge right now and gives you recipes based off of that. And currently no other application does that as well as we plan to do in the future here. And that is the main selling point for My Pantry. And it'll also help find out what you may need to buy from other stores as well and may be able to direct you in that direction.
All right. Sorry for the haste in my judgment.
All good.
Is there any questions for their presentation? Okay, it looks like that is it. We'll now continue on to the next one. audio cannot be heard. This is an unforeseen technical issue. And I think what we will do now is move on to the next presentation after this and then try to roll back to this one as soon as we can. Thank you.
Transform the way students buy and sell textbooks on college campuses. We are a team of 4 college students who found ourselves with the same issues in mind. How can we sell our used textbooks in a fast and easy way without having to compromise on price? Being a college student has been a great experience for me so far. It comes with its ups and downs, of course, and one thing that continually goes down is my bank account balance. This place is expensive as ever, and as the cost of college rises, the cost of supplies such as textbooks are also rising. At the end of the term, if I'm lucky, I'm able to find a friend that needs the textbook I no longer need for next term, but typically these textbooks end up sitting in my room untouched. As I spotted my $150 Intro to Real Estate textbook that my professor insisted that we purchase the newest version of, I thought there had to be a better way to recoup value at the end of the semester from this ridiculously expensive book. This is when the idea of Bookfly popped into my mind, an e-commerce platform students can use to connect with others on their own campus in order to buy and sell their used textbooks, recouping the value of the books and making a quick transaction in a time crunch at the start of the semester.
So with the increase in the cost of textbooks each year, we find ourselves spending more money out of pocket. And even if we do opt for the used textbooks sold by Barnes & Noble, we will still have to pay hundreds of dollars each semester. Well, one option that we have in order to recoup some of the money spent is by selling the textbooks back to Barnes & Noble. However, based on Barnes & Noble's policy, they will only pay you up to 50% of your textbook value in the best case scenario. And based on the survey that we have sent to OSU students, 76% responded that they were not able to recoup more than 50% of their textbook value. So what is another way that you can sell your textbook in order to recoup more than 50%? Well, you can sell them through websites such as eBay, Facebook Marketplace, or even Reddit. But the problem is that this requires a lot of time, hard work, and patience until you find the right buyer. And if you can't find a buyer on campus and you have to sell your textbook to a student from a different school, you now have to worry about how and when to ship your textbook, which will take away from your time and profit. So to solve all of these issues, we came up with a marketplace that will let the students set the value of their textbook and be able to recoup up to 95% of the money spent by charging them only a 5% service fee. By doing so, a student who bought an $80 textbook will now be able to sell that same textbook for the same price and earn back $76, which makes a huge difference when we are talking about hundreds of dollars. Second, our marketplace will be targeted specifically to local college students. So no matter which textbook you're trying to sell, you're almost always guaranteed to be found by the right buyer. And lastly, since our platform is dedicated to local students, finding a local buyer will be much more accessible, which means that delivering your textbook will become much easier.
This is a quick demonstration of the Bookfly app. When you first open up the app, you'll see all the books. This is a quick demonstration of the Bookfly app. When you first open up the app, you'll see all the books that are being sold on the front page. You can search for a specific book by title author or course number. Let me search for a course number in this case. Let's go with that. Once you click on the book, you'll see more information about the book, and you also have the option to purchase the book directly through our site using PayPal, or you can message the seller directly and try to get a better price for the book, say $30. You can also add a listing as well. This is one of my books. The field's already completed, so let's go to the next page. You can pick as many pictures as you want. Let's have this as our cover image, and let's add one more picture and add listing. When you go back to the front page, you'll see the listing at the bottom. You can also see the listing as one of your listings in this tab. This completes the demonstration. This is a quick demonstration of the book. As you can see, our app is designed to be as simple as possible without compromising on features to make the consumer's experience seamless and easy to use anywhere, anytime. Our app is also built with versatility in mind. So if the buyer wants to negotiate the price, they can do it with a click of a button. Another feature that we've implemented into our app is the ability to stay connected with your buyer or seller even after the transaction. And because safety is the most important part of our platform, only college students will be able to use the app by requiring a .edu email address verification. We are also planning to partner with local shops to set up secure transaction spots, while at the same time promoting those local businesses who can in turn promote us back by offering discounts to our users. Bookfly will present value to its customers in many ways. The first and most obvious, we will enable more effective value recoupment for textbook owners while also allowing buyers lower prices than a new textbook. The textbook market is basically cornered by campus bookstores, and Bookfly looks to disrupt this by making the textbook aftermarket more for both parties. We cut out the middleman of the campus bookstore in this scenario. There will be no lost savings or value recoupment when a student decides to purchase or sell through Bookfly, and this is of chief importance to us. Bookfly also allows for a faster transaction. The real estate textbook Connor spoke about in his story took 3 weeks to ship to him, but the teacher immediately started assigning readings from it. If he had been able to find someone on my campus with the book in hand, I could have had it in less than a day and would not have, well, Connor would have had it in less than a day and would not have had to struggle with the burden of a back-ordered book.
So we've designed Bookfly to be the ultimate online textbook marketplace for all college students. And since Bookfly operates entirely online, storage and shipping services are not needed, which will allow us to constantly focus on customer experience and marketing our app. By reach our customer segment, we plan to invest in students who are willing to market our product using word-to-mouth marketing. As part of our revenue stream, we plan to generate income by charging a 5% fee on every transaction made on our app. And as we attempt to grow our service, we will attempt to incorporate other ways to generate revenue through Google AdSense and into other e-learning enterprises. We also hope that our service will gain more value by building connections with local coffee shops so that our customers can have a more enjoyable transaction experience while staying safe.
Next steps. So far, we have built out the app and a first version of the website. We plan to continue to optimize these platforms and sign some users up on the Ohio State campus by next semester. Moving forward, we will begin to market our service to students around the OSU campus in order to beta test our service and prove the validity of our idea. Our idea is simple, execution is what matters, and this will be the most difficult thing moving forward. Any business looking to disrupt a process that has been in place for a long time faces adversity, and we will strive to make textbook selling and buying process for students an easier and cheaper process for university students everywhere.
Thank you all for taking the time to listen to our presentation as well as the other groups. We have enjoyed our time this semester in D3 and hope to keep progressing on Bookfly in the future. Does anybody have any questions?
All right, thank you, Bookfly, for your presentation. We will now be taking any questions from the crowd. Okay, we have a question from Dustin. He made a comment. He said, "Nice job. I was wondering why you chose to use a mobile app instead of focusing on a web app. I'm not sure if I would download a mobile app that would only use a few times per year. So, to sum it up, why did you choose to make a mobile app instead of a web app?"
So we also created a website. For the demo night, we chose to show our app as it was um, easier to show. It was more ready to use. But on the side, we're also working on a website, and we do understand that people would rather have a website to access in order to sell their textbooks instead of going and downloading an app and then having to sell it through the app.
All right, thank you. Michael has a question. His comment was awesome idea. He said he would have liked to have had this to save money. He was wondering, do you guys think the increasing use of ebooks might impact your business model? Anyone can answer that.
Okay, so yeah, we do think that it will disrupt us, but according to our survey, we did see that many students do prefer to have physical textbook in college because it's much easier to navigate a physical textbook than an ebook, and we do hope that we're still going to have many users that would prefer to buy a physical textbook.
All right, thank you. Dr. Kendall did say that a mobile app might be more useful to take a picture of the UPC on the book. It seems that is all the questions for Bookfly. Once again, thank you for your presentation. We'll now be moving on to Clarify. And Empire, please stand by. We'll come back to your group shortly.
Hello, Shark Tank. Tonight we present to you Clarify. Before we start, this is our team who has worked hard behind the scenes. You'll hear from them later in their contributions. These smart women were fun to work with and they had great ideas. We've broken this nationwide issue into 4 segments. We are the students with a social business focus. You'll see why with Clarify. This is our story. We're young entrepreneurial students with a purpose. The pandemic has brought us to do a lot of reflection on our problems as a society. We're trained by our parents, our peers, and our families to carry on more debt than we can handle, and we're going to be hurting for the rest of our lives because of it. Universities are growing in their resources, but many of their checks are bouncing. Tuition in these over 85 to 2018. That rate is skyrocketing by the year, and it's even doubled inflation. Yet we still send more and more students to college without the financial preparation they need. American debt culture has struck a nerve with all of us because an extremely important conversation about spending habits has not been properly facilitated between students and their community. Expert economists have predicted that the next recession debt that we've carried over the years has become the straw that breaks the camel's back. We're trapped in a growing debt bubble that is about to explode. The lack of financial literacy in the States is stunning, and this lack of knowledge has created slow and visible damage to every American's wallet. Most students actually rely on federal loans for getting through school, understand how their cultural spending habits can lead them into a debt spiral with private loans and loan sharks that really is never contained. We have surveyed roughly 470 college students at Ohio State University to get a better understanding of whether or not college students have clarity when navigating their financial career. From our sample of students, and over 90% have never even utilized Ohio State's peer-to-peer financial service, Scarlet and Gray Financial. Students, on the most part, rely on their past experiences when handling finances. The silver lining in this data collection process was that among the students who did take personal finance in their prior schooling, an overwhelming majority of them referred to it as their primary source of knowledge. This data tells us that students are willing to use it, but they don't trust everything on the internet. Our goal at Clarify is to bridge the knowledge gap between the peer-to-peer services at Ohio State and this incoming student classes. Here's a video of our prototype in action.
We also aim to provide an educational platform rather than a tool. With that, a goal of ours is to help our users retain their knowledge through interactive features and quizzes. Our platform will not be formatted like a textbook. To also make the learning experience fun and connectable to real life, we have a discovery page that will provide current information and news related to finance.
College is one of the first times that you can truly live independently. And this, for many people, means managing your own finances for the first time. Our goal at Clarify isn't to have you memorize every single component about taxes or Roth IRAs, but rather so that you can gain a gradual understanding of how financial management works and use this understanding to make your own decisions moving forward. What we can and strive to do through Clarify is to help you feel comfortable when you're making these decisions in a way that's beneficial to yourself and your family.
debt say goodbye, hello Clarify. Our marketing team and our development team members used existing market data to determine what makes an app successful. They also consider the university students' voice by leaning in on their input as to what makes the apps that they own likable. We've constructed these as the core components of Clarify.
Next, just taking a look at some of our competitors, we've got it split up into 7 different categories here, all of which we consider to be important for any financial education app. The first component is education focused. We really want to hone in on teaching the content to our audience, not just giving them information. And one of our competitors, Mint, is mainly focused on providing tools such as budget templates to help people manage their money, which is great, but is really missing the learning aspect of it so that you can actually understand what you're doing in the process. And lastly, the app needs to be focused strongly for college students. And again, FinStrong in this area doesn't have enough in-depth features to gear their content towards college students, which Clarify will.
The web tools and application are suited for American college students. Our primary revenue stream for programming and content development will be through programming with the academic institutions as our key partners. This is a win-win for the universities. Delivering on our content will drive student retention rates, which earns colleges more money over time. And using software resources that we've built will help the universities become market leaders in educational mobile applications when in-person resources are heavily limited.
Okay, now let's look at the target market. Our target market is OSU first-year college students who want to develop an awareness about financial management, who want to better independently control their money, and who want a single platform that combines financial topics. Our marketing goal is to increase public awareness of financial education as well as generating leads. As our storytelling will show that there are millions of American students are struggling with their student debt. Lack of those financial experience would make those young adults feel even more stressed and painful. It would be extremely helpful if there's a guide to help students deal with their current financial situations. That's why they need to choose Clarify. And also, we have built our public pages to post our important information for more attractions. For further steps, we will use email lists as the tool to expand our marketing. We will also consider to cooperate with other organizations such as schools, since our target market is the first-year college students.
Here's a list of our top 6 value propositions. These are based on what our target market perceives as important and what some of our competitors lack in. As mentioned before, we want to gamify the learning experience, and one of the main ways we plan to do that is through incentives. One being a point system which can be exchanged into real money to be used toward charity donations and in-app purchases. In the future, we'll be expanding our accessibility in order to accommodate more individuals. Our building process follows the concept of design thinking. We're currently step 4 is where we would start expanding and do test runs. At the end of all this, we hope to formally launch Clarify and then continue to improve based on the post-launch analysis.
Again, our revenue streams are primarily coming through the university. We have accessible features that students can choose to upgrade, but at the end of the day, we are a social business and we are goal-oriented at tackling student debt. The American author James Baldwin once said, "Anyone who has ever struggled with poverty knows how extremely expensive it is to be poor. Don't let your debt multiply. Download Clarify."
And with that, we'd like to open it up to any questions or comments that you have regarding Clarify.
All right, now we'll be opening it up for Clarify to answer any questions in the chat, so please send them in. I have one question. I know that OSU uses iGrad, and I don't know if iGrad is affiliated with OSU or is it their standalone company. But if it is a standalone company, would you have to compete with iGrad to give this to students, or can you sort of have a cooperative relationship with them?
So to answer your question, Blaze, we could be competitors, but our idea behind Clarify is to just attach ourselves directly to a academic institution and support all of the students based off of their needs. I'm not sure if iGrad is used across Ohio State because, to be honest, I'm just hearing of it now and I just pulled it up on Google. So I've never had any exposure to iGrad, but like in a perfect scenario with Clarify would be incoming Ohio State students are coming into orientation and there's no pandemic, so they can sit next to each other. And while they're opening up their iPads, Clarify is already pushed to their devices. And as they have questions about student loans or debt, financing, and different things like that, they can access the app as they go through college. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Dustin has a question in the chat. He says, it seems like it might be also be useful for early professionals. How did you determine college students to be your target users? So I guess what he is saying is he seems that another target you can have is people entering into their professional career early. So how did you determine that college students would be your primary target?
So to answer your question, I think just because we are current college students, we kind of feel that we lack that financial literacy. And I personally am taking a finance class, and we have like discussion boards. And through that, I just feel like a lot of students kind of don't know a lot of topics, especially related to personal finance, until they either experience it or go through some educational course. For right now, we do think that financial literacy is a big issue for all ages, but to focus on college students would be easier for us just to manage and stuff.
Oh yeah, and going off of what Fiona is saying, habitually, I don't know if you've ever spoken to your parents, but a lot of habits that people get as they that they have as they get older are usually built through college. And we understand college students and their perspective the best because we're living through that. We aren't going through, none of us are exactly young professionals right now. So we feel like right now we understand our student or our target market the best. Maybe as we get older, we can open up to young professionals who are also still paying off their student loan debt. But for now, we're just going to stick to what we know best.
Good answer. Sounds good.
As they get that they have.
Okay, it seems that is all for Clarify. Thank you, Clarify, for your presentation. We've gotten the situation of Empire fixed now, so we'll be directing the live stream back to Empire.
Empire.
Hello, I'm Robert Sunderhead.
Hello, I'm Nadia.
Hi, my name's Avi.
And today I would like to talk to you about the future of data sharing using the blockchain. So there's an identified problem here that we think Empire could solve. Healthcare institutions are having a very difficult time efficiently and securely sharing sensitive data and information. And this has been clearly demonstrated in these recent events and times we live in.
So let's talk about the problem today. COVID-19. We're all dealing with it. We all know what it is. But it's actually revealed a very big problem in the data of the medical field. It can best be seen in California. Earlier in the COVID phase, California was doing great. They had the best doctors from Stanford and the UC system, and they minimized the impact to where they were being regarded as one of the best states in the nation. And they had no problems. Today, they have one of the greatest outbreaks, and they're having one of the biggest problems. Why? It's because they have a lack of data transfer system. No privacy is able to be given to the individual's medical data, so they cannot be transferred. This is a huge problem and has been a huge stunt of growth in the COVID research.
But let's look at the positive. How do we want to solve this? This is where Empire comes in. We would like to provide APIs with an ecosystem that is based off of an alternative payment method like blockchain. We want to provide tools to institutions and companies to allow them to monetize these APIs using micropayments like Stellar or some token off of the Ethereum blockchain. Now, how are we going to accomplish this? And what benefit are we actually going to bring and give to these institutions that we would like to implement our product? What we are going to provide is we're going to provide a system and a platform that can be dropped in by all of these institutions to gain a better idea of what data of theirs is being accessed, which are their API endpoints, are being called, and we're going to give them a transaction system that allows very flexible payment for these API calls. So if somebody from, say, the public health department in Berkeley wanted to query data from a hospital in Southern California, they'd be able to do so quickly, privately, and efficiently using the Stellar blockchain. These transactions could be settled within seconds, and a call could be made, and new and updated data could be used that provides the public health system in Southern California with a monetization option.
So now, as part of our value proposition, first, we want to monetize data using the block. We're going to help businesses and institutions create revenue from their application programming interfaces, while at the same time providing flexible data analysis and new business insights through that. And our next point is to provide support to keep businesses' APIs in operation and provide exceptional performance for consumers, which includes secure and fast data transfers. Next slide, please. Now, as part of the customer relations, our first point is also dedicated personal assistance. So even though we are an automated service, we are providing personalized assistance for businesses looking to move into the digital economy, which means faster customer onboarding. So we are enabling businesses to create additional revenue streams through innovative usage of the platform, and at the same time helping businesses leverage their digital assets into revenue streams and create new business models, which help the companies manage records overall.
So who is Impere meant for? Well, it's meant for people that collect the data, and it's also meant for the people that consume the data. So healthcare institutions, hospitals, are meant to use Impere to input their data and be able to send it out. So who are they sending it to? Well, the three main categories we decided upon, or I guess we discovered, were the healthcare solutions companies, developers, and research data sharing. As we saw in the California scenario, it's very important that these companies and institutions can have this data to make great predictions on to use this data for research purposes with the security of the individual. Next slide, please. So let's talk about revenue model. How are we going to make money off this? We're going to have a hybrid. So we're going to start out with open source, so anyone's going to be able to use it. But how are we going to make money off an open source model? Well, we're also going to have support. So with the open source model, you're going to have to pay for support to have people from Impere help you out to give you the best experience. But we also have a higher level for people that really want to use Impere to the max, proprietary. So with this method, you'll be able to use a blockchain you'll be able to use the blockchain payment method, which will be able to have higher security for the individuals.
So how does Impere work between the client side and the consumer side? So hospitals, they are the healthcare institutions that we primarily sell to. They can develop and deploy their APIs using Impere and be able to monetize it and have control over how their data is being used and who it's being sold to. So that API is then available to the buyer, which they're able to put in that request, which is shown below the title. And after requesting that API and that data, after the payment has gone through, the hospital is able to grant that data. And once that data is granted and that access to the data is granted, then the buyer has access to the data and has access to the constantly updating resource. Now we understand that medical information is highly secretive and is highly protected and very sensitive. And that is why we understand that hospitals are very protective of their data. And what we try to do in order to solve that issue is hospitals will maintain control of their data and be able to analyze how their data is being used. So when we show those two lines coming out of the data box, that basically means that the buyer has access to the data and how it's constantly being updated, new data sources, less data sources, in order to make their solutions more optimized and more accurate. While the hospital is still able to change their data, revoke access to the data, and be able to analyze how their data is being used in order to better optimize their API for future buyers. Now, we created a very primitive wireframe as of now, and this is in form of a front page landing page for a website. Basically, having Ampere and being able to request a demo if the consumer wishes to buy into our product, having what our product does and how it can contribute to your institution or your company's long-term growth through the use of data monetization, and how does it work, which was on the previous slide. So this is going to be our primary method of communicating our product with our customers. So the competition. Now, there are quite a few competitors in this space, but we believe it's still very possible to compete with who our competitors are. So we created a competition matrix with two axes. One detailing our open source versus proprietary, and the other showing methods of monetization, which we really put an emphasis on using tokens and blockchain technology. So Ampere is very involved with doing blockchain and open source, which has not been currently done by the industry. Although there are quite a few other very successful companies in the other areas, we do believe we have the ability to successfully compete with those companies. As for our future, how we intend on working on Ampere in the next few months is currently today we have gone as far as creating wireframes for what the client side will look like and what the consumer side will look like, and creating wireframes for the landing page and the website. After that, we wish to review our findings and review our wireframes and eventually turn that into a usable prototype with our desired functions and features. After that, we go to user testing. We go to hospitals, we communicate with their IT departments, and get information back from them and how we can better optimize this prototype in order to effectively and easily transition into their data infrastructure and their technological infrastructure. Beyond that, once we get all of the feedback, we redevelop our prototypes and eventually move on to development. Thank you. If you have any questions, please don't be afraid to ask.
All right. Thank you, Empire, for that. I apologize for the technical difficulties with the sound. Now we'll be taking questions in the chat. So please send them in so that Empire may answer them. Jason asks, what are your revenue streams? Anyone from Empire can answer that.
Yeah, I could take that. So, initially we want to start out as open source to get as many people on the system as possible, so you can have the most amount of people using it. And for people that they put on headphones so we don't get any reverb. And for people that are using it, we're going to be providing support, so you can pay for support. So that would be one form of revenue stream. And the other one, for people that really want to use it, we're going to have you can pay for the blockchain method, and that'll be kind of like a higher up version of Ampere for more security and ease of transfer. So those are kind of like the two main revenue streams. So we wanted to keep it open source just because we wanted as many people to use the service as possible.
Thank you. I think you were muted for part of that. Can you briefly just say that again? Robert, can you say that again, please?
Sorry, I missed that. Yeah, of course. So kind of like the two main revenue streams. So if you are using our product open source, we would make money based on paying for support. And then kind of like the second way, if you want to use Ampere to a higher level, you're going to be able to pay for the blockchain add-on for higher security and efficiency.
Thank you for that. We have another question in the chat. At one point during the beginning, the thought around launching a token ICO on the blockchain. Any further thoughts on this concept, or how do you envision the tokens themselves having value?
Sorry, I'm just a little bit confused with the question. So
I can repeat it for you if you want.
Yeah, sorry, I'm reading through it as well. So it looks like just general thoughts on how this token would be given value. Oh yes, okay. So the current idea for the blockchain based implementing blockchain would be to use a Stellar based token. Stellar is big into trying to create like stable coins for different fiat currencies around the world, and they're very good at this because of how their consensus mechanisms work. So one option that we're looking at is pegging our token to some stable coin, so maybe 1/100th of a cent if we want to make it a bit more give the users more flexibility as to what they actually want to charge in case they want to make it really cheap and then just accumulate a bunch of little smaller amounts of our token. But there are other ways that we could potentially distribute this token that might bring it value that isn't just pegging it to some fiat currency. that answers your question.
Thank you. I believe that is all the questions being asked. So we will now end the live stream. But before that, I'd like to say thank you so much for all the people that are coming that came to watch the live stream, family, friends. Thank you so much to our advisors, Dr. Kendall and Mr. Collins, for helping us throughout the whole year. And thank you, club members, for sticking with us throughout this year. It's been long, but you guys hanged out there, and there are some very good presentations tonight. Again, sorry, Empire, for the go issues. One more thing before we depart to each other. If you can please come to the D3 Demo Night call channel. We're having one more debrief over some important things, and we will be ending for the semester. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it, and hopefully you're back next year.